What's up, YouTube? How you guys today? Today I wanted to talk about finding peace while being alone. Okay, this is huge. This was something that totally changed my life, was accepting that there will be times where you are alone. So, especially when you're on the grind, man, and you're coming up and you're doing the right things, there's going to be a middle ground where you can't relate to the old friends that you previously had, but you're also not quite at the level where you're networking and making those friends at the level where you want to be. So in that time, it can get super lonely. So I wouldn't say to look at this as a negative thing. I would say a lot of times, unless you've just fucked over every friend you had and burnt your bridges and whatnot, a lot of times being alone can signal that you're on the right path. You know, I firmly believe that God will bring people into your life when it's time, right? So, doing some reflecting on my life and past problems that I've had and what caused those problems led me to the conclusion that a lot of those problems stem from my inability to be alone. Okay, and that's huge because when you don't want to be alone, you'll end up just settling for less. You'll end up back with that toxic ex, that you knew was not good for you. You'll end up just accepting friends that end up bringing you down. You think just because you have friends around that it's beneficial for you. But I totally found when I cut those certain friends out that maybe they were good people, right? But they weren't headed in the same direction that I was or am. So as tough as it is, you've got to cut those friends out of your life, right? So it's better to have a small group of great friends rather than a lot of shitty friends. And if you have no friends at all, man, that's cool too. I find you can go out and be social in other places, like with strangers, like pull up to a cafe, or even the smallest interactions can keep you on your pivot as far as like being social goes. You don't want to totally isolate yourself at all either, especially if you're not an introverted person. That can lead to depression and a whole bunch of other problems. But make sure you get out and you talk to people, right? But don't keep people around that are going to drag you down. Don't let your mind excuse having shitty people around because you just don't want to be alone. There's plenty of ways for you to get out there and meet people who are going to bring you up. And if you're a man, finding that men's group that encourages you and helps you to level up. Instead of, telling you sweet nothings and being yes men. That's the worst thing you can have around. I had that around quite a bit. Maybe like a year or two ago. And my life has just done a complete 360 since I cut those yes men out. They tell you you're doing everything right. You're not doing everything right, but you want some validation, and your friends will just, fill your head up with all these encouraging words and whatnot when you're not on the path you're supposed to be. Like, what help does that do? So I try to be the complete opposite of that, and I try to hold my friends accountable. And there's a time and a place for this. Keep this in mind. There's a time and a place for this. You're not always hounding them about something they need to do. You obviously be a friend to them, but when you see they're falling off or they're doing something that's totally out of character or out of whack, everyone needs like to be checked every now and then. So check your friends, you know? And but like I said, if you don't have friends, don't trip about it, man. I had the option when I moved to this new city, this new state, to get roommates, right? And I've had roommates in the past. It went all right. I will say it went all right. I made friends. I went out and whatnot, but I was never. It was good for fun, right? So if you're in college, you know what I'm talking about. It's good for fun, but it's not good for leveling up. It's a lot of fun, I will tell you. Like having roommates, like the right roommates, is a lot of fun. But I honestly believe that there's a period of time where you need to be alone. So I put out the extra money just to have an apartment to myself. If you're moving out, I would highly suggest there's two routes you can take. You can save some money with roommates, or you honestly can get your own place and focus solely on leveling up. I'm telling you, it'll do wonders for you. I don't even, the difference in the money makes no difference to me. You know what I mean? Because I'm making my money back in the progress that I'm making, you know? With roommates around and stuff, you may be nervous to start this YouTube channel. You may be nervous to talk to a camera and whatnot, but alone, you've got nothing but time and your thoughts. So now for some people that can be tough, you know, which is something you've got to confront eventually. You're never going to outrun your thoughts, or you're never going to outrun yourself. So it's probably best that you get familiar with yourself and comfortable with yourself. You know, that's the one person you got to be cool with the most. And figure out what that means to you. Figure out, I would read some books, find hobbies that you can do for yourself, because that's super necessary in life, is being alone. So, and there's like this whole like stigma around being alone, of how it's like this terrible thing, but I truly don't believe in that. I believe that being alone can bring the most growth, you know. A lot of people have problems when it gets quiet and they don't know what to do with their thoughts. I was at this point not too long ago. I made terrible decisions as far as like girls go, because I thought you always needed a girl with you, but that's totally false, man. You know, quality over quantity. But if you're listening to the wrong influence as far as media or music goes, you know, you're going to be all twisted. You're going to think that you constantly need people, but you really don't. You know, you can do what you need to do on your own, and you can make it happen, brother. So think on that. Let me know what you guys think of this topic in the comments below. Let me know when you guys see the most growth and the most progress in your life. And if you're not seeing any progress and you've got nothing but yes men around and shitty friends, try cutting some of those out. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be alone, and figure it out on your own, and then pop back out later. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me hear from you in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.